Sophia pushed her cleaning cart down the lavish hallway of the Grand Bellevue Hotel, the soft hum of classical music from the lobby barely reaching her ears. She had cleaned hundreds of rooms in her 5 years working here, each suite more extravagant than the last. But as she stopped in front of suite 1402, a strange sensation crept over her, an odd, prickling discomfort she couldn't explain. She glanced at the digital tablet clipped to her cart. The system showed that the guests, a father and his young daughter, were scheduled to check out that morning. Normally, guests would have already left by this time, their luggage neatly packed, the room abandoned except for some stray towels and an unmade bed. But this room felt different. Her hand tightened around the handle of the cart as she knocked twice. "Housekeeping!" she called out, her voice steady but cautious. Silence. She knocked again, this time a little louder. "Housekeeping! Checking! In for service!" Still no answer. Her pulse quickened. If the guests had already checked out, why was there an odd sense of heaviness in the air? She had walked into plenty of empty rooms before, but this one carried an unsettling stillness, as if it were holding its breath. Slowly, she slid the keycard through the reader. The lock clicked open, and she pushed the door ajar, peeking inside. Sunlight streamed through the sheer curtains, illuminating the room's pristine, elegant decor, plush navy carpets, mahogany furniture, and an untouched breakfast tray sitting on the desk. But what stood out the most was the king-sized bed. In the center of the room, something was wrong with it. The heavy comforter was bunched up strangely, as though something or someone had been hastily hidden beneath. A shiver crawled up Sophia's spine. She hesitated in the doorway, her heart thudding softly in her chest. Had the guests truly checked out? Was someone still in here? Her eyes darted around the room, searching for signs of recent movement. The bathroom door was shut, and the closet door was slightly ajar, revealing a glimpse of a duffel bag tucked inside. Something about the way it was stuffed in there, haphazard, rushed, made her uneasy. She took a slow step forward, her senses on high alert. The uneasiness had transformed into something stronger now. Something was very, very wrong in suite 1402. "You said..." Sophia swallowed hard as she stepped fully into the room, her nerves prickling with every step. The silence felt unnatural, like a presence lingered just beyond her field of vision. She forced herself to breathe steadily, gripping the handle of her cleaning cart as though it could provide some sort of protection. Her eyes scanned the space. Nothing seemed disturbed except for the bed. The comforter was pulled up too high, too smooth in some places, too uneven in others. She took another step forward, reaching for the dusting cloth tucked into her apron. As she moved, something small caught her eye near the edge of the bed. Child's pink hairband. It was lying on the floor, slightly crumpled, as though it had been yanked from someone's hair. The tiny butterfly charm attached to it gleamed under the sunlight, filtering through the curtains. Sophia's breath hitched. She remembered seeing the little girl wearing it the day before, when she and her father had checked in. The girl had been quiet, barely speaking as she held onto her stuffed bunny, her father's large hand resting firmly on her shoulder. Why was her hairband on the floor? A wave of unease washed over her, stronger this time. She needed to check the bed. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for the edge of the comforter. She hesitated. Then, in one swift motion, she pulled the sheet back. Her heart nearly stopped. Wide, terrified eyes stared up at her. A young girl, the same one who had checked in the day before, was curled up beneath the covers, her small body trembling. Her stuffed bunny was clutched tightly in her arms, its fur damp with what looked like tears. Her lips quivered as she took in Sophia's face. Sophia's breath came fast and shallow. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here?" she whispered, kneeling beside the bed. The girl didn't answer. She only shrank further into the mattress, her tiny frame stiff with fear. Then her gaze darted toward the bathroom door. Sophia followed her eyes, her stomach twisting into knots. The door was closed, but now that she was really paying attention, she could hear it, the faintest rustling sound coming from inside. Her blood ran cold. Whoever was in there wasn't supposed to be. Sophia felt like her body had turned to ice. Her instincts screamed at her, "Get the girl out, get out now!" But she didn't want to startle the child or whoever was behind that door. She forced her voice to remain calm. "It's okay," she whispered, gently reaching for the girl's hand. "I'm going to help you, but we need to be very quiet, okay?" The little girl clutched her bunny tighter, but nodded, her big eyes filled with unspoken fear. Sophia carefully lifted the child out of the bed, shielding her as best as she could. The girl's small fingers dug into Sophia's sleeve as she pressed herself against her side. Then, a sound from the bathroom. A soft click. The doorknob turned, slow and deliberate. Sophia's breath hitched. Whoever was inside was coming out. Her mind raced. If the man, the father, found her standing there with the girl, what would he do? What was he capable of? The fear in the child's eyes told her everything she needed to know. Her pulse thundered as she did the only thing she could think of. She grabbed a fresh towel from her cart and pretended to adjust the bed, blocking the girl with her body. The bathroom door creaked open. A tall figure stepped out. The father. His dark eyes landed on her immediately. For a second, there was silence. A heavy, suffocating pause. Then his gaze flickered to the bed. His expression changed, his brows furrowed in confusion. He expected the girl to still be there. Sophia swallowed hard, keeping her face neutral. "Sir," she said, forcing a smile, "I was just finishing up. I didn't realize you were still in the room." The man's lips curled slightly, but his eyes were sharp, assessing her. "I must have forgotten to put up the Do Not Disturb sign." His voice was smooth, but there was something forced about it, something unnatural. Sophia nodded slowly, gripping the cleaning cloth in her hand as if it were a lifeline. She needed to get out, now. But the man wasn't moving, and worst of all, his eyes flicked to the side toward the girl's pink hairband on the floor. His expression darkened. Sophia's stomach twisted into knots. She knew in that instant that he knew. Sophia's heartbeat pounded in her ears as she forced herself to stay calm. The man's dark eyes lingered on the pink hairband, his jaw tightening ever so slightly. He knew the girl was no longer in the bed. He knew something was wrong. Her grip on the cleaning cloth tightened as she slowly turned to her cart, pretending to smooth out the towels stacked on top. She had to think fast. She needed to get the girl out of the room without raising suspicion. The girl was right behind her, crouching low, hidden by the bulky shape of the cleaning cart. If she could just get her to the door. The man took a slow step forward. "Did you—" His voice was calm, too calm. "Did you see my daughter?" Sophia's throat went dry. She didn't trust herself to speak, afraid that her voice would give her away. Instead, she shook her head and gestured to the bathroom. I thought she was with you," she said, keeping her tone light. "I was just making the bed." The man's gaze flickered toward the sheets, as if debating whether to believe her. He took another step closer. Sophia fought to keep her breathing even. "Oh, I almost forgot," she said suddenly, reaching into her apron pocket with trembling fingers. She pulled out a keycard, one of the emergency duplicates that all staff carried. She turned to her cart as if looking for something else, then deliberately let the keycard slip to the floor beside the girl. The little girl's eyes flickered with understanding. She snatched the keycard silently, clutching it in her small hands. The man was watching her closely. Sophia could feel the weight of his stare. He was suspicious. He was waiting for her to slip up. She forced a polite smile. "If you'd like fresh towels, I can bring some up in a little while," she offered, inching subtly toward the door. She reached for a stack of folded towels, blocking the girl from view as she carefully nudged her toward the entrance. The girl, her small frame trembling, gripped the keycard and crawled toward the door inch by inch. Sophia's heart pounded in time with each movement. Then, the worst thing happened. The man's phone buzzed on the nightstand. His attention snapped toward it, and in that instant his eyes caught movement. The girl's small foot had slipped just past the cleaning cart. He saw her. His face darkened. Sophia acted instantly. She grabbed the entire stack of towels and flung them toward him, a cascade of fabric blocking his vision for just a second. But a second was all she needed. "Run!" she gasped. The girl bolted toward the door, fumbling with the keycard. Her hands were shaking too much to slide it in properly. The man lunged forward, knocking over the cleaning cart, sending bottles and supplies crashing to the floor. Sophia's body moved before her brain could process it. She threw herself in front of him, blocking his path to the girl. "You're not taking her," she hissed. His eyes blazed with rage. The girl finally managed to swipe the keycard. The door unlocked with a beep. Sophia spun around and yanked it open, shoving the girl into the hallway. "Run to the front desk," she gasped. "Find security, now!" The little girl hesitated for a fraction of a second, then took off down the hallway, her tiny feet pounding against the carpet. The man roared in frustration and grabbed Sophia's arm, yanking her back inside. The door slammed shut. Pain shot up Sophia's arm as the man's grip tightened, his face contorted with rage. "You had no right to interfere," he spat. Sophia refused to cower. "She's terrified of you," she shot back, wincing as his fingers dug into her skin. "Why?" His jaw clenched, but before he could answer, bang, bang, bang! A loud fist pounded on the door. "Hotel security! Open up immediately!" The man's expression flickered between anger and panic. He knew he was out of time. His grip loosened for a split second, just enough for Sophia to yank herself free and dart toward the door. She flung it open to reveal 2 hotel security guards and a police officer standing outside. Behind them, the little girl stood clutching the front desk clerk's hand, her face pale but determined. "That's him!" she cried, pointing at the man. The guards stormed inside. "Sir, step back, hands where we can see them." The man stiffened, then bolted toward the balcony. Sophia's stomach dropped. If he got away, one of the security guards lunged forward just in time. Tackling him to the ground, the officer moved in swiftly, yanking the man's arms behind his back and slapping handcuffs onto his wrists. "You're under arrest," he stated firmly. "We'll be looking into exactly what you've been doing with this child." The man thrashed against their grip, but it was over. Sophia turned to the little girl, who was trembling but safe. Slowly, she knelt down. "Sweetheart, is he really your dad?" she asked gently. The little girl hesitated, tears welling in her eyes. She shook her head. Sophia's stomach twisted. He had been lying. The police officer's jaw tightened. "We'll figure out where you belong," he assured the girl. "You're safe now." The girl launched herself into Sophia's arms, hugging her tight. Sophia held her close, her own eyes burning with tears. "You're safe," she whispered. "No one's ever going to hurt you again." As the man was dragged away in handcuffs, the little girl clung to Sophia like she was the only thing in the world keeping her grounded. And Sophia knew, without a doubt, trusting her gut had saved this child's life.